So the big news with qualifying that we have to start off with, of course, is Lando Norris, first career pole. It feels like it's been coming. Like, this is not really out of the blue, is it? Because he's put it on he almost got P2 in Imola, I seem to recall. He got his time deleted, didn't he? So he came pretty close there. And it feels like he's constantly threatening getting closer to that front row. We've seen some great qualifying from him so far. And this doesn't feel like a huge surprise. McLaren's first pole since Brazil 2012. But also on the front row was Carlos Sainz. His first front row as well. He had a great lap, rang the absolute maximum out of that Ferrari. So right at the very front of the grid going into the race is you have McLaren, Ferrari. And I'm like, yes, we're back. It's back with something different. At this track where Mercedes just win over and over and over again. Now, obviously, Mercedes did end up winning, which is a little bit disappointing from my point of view. But hey, we'll talk about how they did what they needed to do to win it, and ultimately they deserve the credit for that. Over to you, Shane. What sticks out in qualifying for you as well? I've kind of gone straight for the top of the grid there. So,
well, we'll stick at the top of the grid because you've got Russell in P3, which I think is absolutely incredible, given the highlights of Spa where he qualified in P2 and obviously he kept that position.
Yeah, this isn't even his best result,
race. Yes, this is crazy. So obviously in Spa he kept P2, which was his best pole and then his best race finish. And everyone thought, it was because of the rain. It was a fluke. It might not happen again. I mean, it is a Williams at the end of the day. You have to drive that very well to pull it anywhere near the top of the grid. Fast forward a couple of weeks down the road, George Russell, P3. And people are like, what I love about this guy now is before the summer break, George Russell getting anywhere near the points would have been like breaking news. George Russell is the best F1 driver of all time. Williams is back. And now we're seeing George get into Q3 consistently. He's put it into P3. And it was like, yeah, that's what George can do in this rain. And I'm like, this is becoming the norm, that George can achieve these kind of results in varied conditions. So absolutely fantastic. Where else do you start? I mean, Hamilton in P4, Ricciardo in P5. Alonso did great. Bottas was a little underwhelming in P7.
Hamilton.
Who was the biggest?
You mentioned Hamilton there. He had a big mistake hitting the wall. He came into the pits for softs. Obviously learned nothing from Charles Leclerc. You've got to stack it into the wall on the track if you want to keep hold of your pole position, because then you bring out the red flag. That's how masterclass from Charles Leclerc there. But Hamilton was more of a hit the wall in the pits kind of guy. In all seriousness, the guy makes mistakes like anybody else. He's just been historically that much more consistent, but I can think of plenty of Hamilton howlers back through the past. Like, the guy has his world championships and his 100 wins now, but he's not completely immune to moments like this, and he still qualified P4 and ended up winning the race. So it really didn't sort of hamper him here. There was a lot of Hamilton's feeling the pressure because Verstappen's going. Not like, come on, you'd be a fool to discount Lewis Hamilton. It has to be said.
I have to be honest. I was one of those people who messaged you saying, I think the pressure's getting to Hamilton, and here I am 36 hours later. Hamilton's won his 100th Grand Prix. Well,
never.
But it wasn't his
you
first.
Just got to never discount the man, really.
It's crazy how
he was
just
still the
bounces
favourite
back.
to win at Lights Out. I think.
Yeah,
still the favourite to win when he got started, I think.
But obviously he hit the wall in qualifying, but in practice he actually went in too deep into his pit box and knocked over his front jackman, which is the first time he's ever done something like that before. So like you said, despite being this crazy good driver, no one is immune from accidents, and thankfully that mechanic is absolutely fine, and we move on. But yeah, some uncharacteristic mistakes from Hamilton this week, but as expected with the varied conditions, I guess.
Yeah, and Bottas, you said, was a bit underwhelming. Again, I wasn't a huge surprise. He's not known for his wet or mixed weather drives, is he? So that's not a huge surprise. Gasly, an unusual dropout in Q2. I think he wanted to pit for fresh tyres and his team wouldn't let him, or said no or something. And then he was impeded by a Williams at some point. I'm not sure who it was, but he was very visibly upset at the end of the session. He was also very upset after the race, saying whatever it is that we do with the weather, we're doing it wrong because they have made some ridiculous calls. Remember in Imola when he was on full wets whilst everyone else was on inters, and he was just collapsing down the field, and he's sitting there thinking, box maybe put some inters on. No, they just did nothing for like good 3 or 4 laps. It seemed like, and I have to go back and check it out again, but he was not very happy. Perez again, so disappointing.
Yeah. A weekend where Red Bull needed him at the top of the grid.
Yeah, they needed him up there fighting, and it was just another moment where it's just not quite where he needs to be. Doing a lot better than previous second seat colleagues, but still just not quite there. So we end up with a McLaren and a Ferrari and a Williams as the top 3.